slayers. There's dragon slayers, which specifically are meant for dragon magic. There's god slayers that are specifically meant for god magic. And then there's just slayers, who are just like all around just the mediocre. And an elemental slayer would essentially be someone who can control every single element you can think of, but only one at a time. How would this happen, you would probably ask. So, you know, he would still have his whole backstory of, you know, Lee left and then Gramps, and then like he would be trained, but he wouldn't be trained by Igneel. If you don't know who Igneel is, then no worry. He wouldn't be trained by Igneel, so he would be trained by... I haven't come up with a name. Ooh, he would be trained by Igneel, and I haven't come up with a name for a god. And Cyrus. Cyrus is the Greek god of snakes, I believe. So he would... this would teach him poison god slaying and fire dragon slaying. And then or you can call it toxic god slaying, whichever one you want. And then he would also, it's what if also was an elemental slayer, and I've had elemental slaying magic, right? Yeah, I was about to say. I don't know what you're talking about. So, next thing, he would grow up and he would have his whole crying scene, and Gramps would find him. But this is where we get to the big change. When he wouldn't need to protect them, there would just be Natsu would just like do this whole like explosion thing, because he was in such like an emotion state, because he was like crying because, you know, he was about to get hurt and stuff. He released both his magics at the same time, and as you know, gas plus fire equals explosion. So he just blew up everything around him. This greatly injured Gramps, and he ran. He didn't want to die. He thought the kid was like trying to do this, and he was like a decoy or something. So he ran back, and he got an army. He got his entire guild to just come and try to assassinate Natsu. Natsu ran. He literally ran, throwing. He saw what he did, and he started throwing explosions back, propelling himself forward. He did like what Bakugo did. He did the Bakugo moonwalk almost. He just flew us with his explosions. So they left him behind, but he was now considered to be part of a dark guild, when really he was still goodless. And but a lot of people didn't want to fight him because he was a child, you know. He was a like not an infant, but he was still pretty young, so they didn't want to fight him, because, you know, they felt bad for knowing they were trying to kill a kid. So, but, you know, then old guild master says like, oh god, he attacked me, he tried to kill me. But, and then they saw that, and then they're like, oh yes, he knows what he's doing, yeah. And then, you know, so he's hunted down forever and ever, until he's found by the one and only Metal Dragon Slayer, who I forgot the name of because I'm stupid. And he, Metal Dragon Slayer? Metal Dragon. I forgot his name. What has his name been explained even? I don't even remember. But he finds him and he learns Metal Dragon breathing. Metal Dragon magic. And Natsu learns how to incorporate this with his fire magic. And he with his fire magic, and he makes this like liquid metal where he can forge it into different things. He can forge them into blades, and he can change it on command by just activating Dragon Slayer and then just moving it in a way that creates something. So this one time, you know, he was being hunted, and he used his Metal Dragon Slaying, and he used this fire. He just kept switching in between like a metal pole and a blade. and like what, and then like he would just keep, and then he was just chopping everything in his path. He would either push it over or he would chop it down. They just kept alternating, you know. And then this one time he had to fight them actually, so he pulled out both his blades, and they got a little scared, you know. They got a little scared, and then the whole boom thing happened, and then the big booms, and then you end up with the explosion, and because he mixed his explosion thing with it, and then you end up with the ginormous explosion because he contained some of it. So like he does, like, how do I explain this? He uses the metal to contain the gas. Then when he heats it up, it makes like an explosion weapon essentially. Where it's like on his first hit, it'll like blow up because the explosion is like being contained and it can't like outburst. It's interesting. So yeah, that happens. They're all scared again, and now they're guaranteed that he's like with the Dark Guild. Everybody's against him, unfortunately. You would be saying that's a little dark, but he ends up finding the other multi-dragon slayer, who I also forgot the name of because I just don't remember names. And then, you know, he actually does join a Dark Guild. He quickly learns that he has a lot of magics, and like that shouldn't be possible. But he was taught by dragons. He was taught by gods. He was, I don't know what you want me to say. Okay, like how can you say that god dragon slaying magic is like not something you can learn a lot? So but they don't accept him. He doesn't end up joining. I said he ends up joining. They don't accept him because he's like a freak. He has too many magic. So they think he would be a good asset, but you know, they just can't accept the fact that he has like what, four magics? 3 magics. They can't accept that fact, you know? So he doesn't make it into the guild, unfortunately. Words, unfortunately. So he's just been wandering around, running from everyone trying to hunt him down. Even some of the dark guilds you joined to see if they could like come back and be part of the regular guilds. But the regular guilds still don't like them, and they think they're actually their teammates. So they end up, with one time, they end up like fighting each other because they think they're trying to help each other. And then, you know, the dark guilds think they're trying to help him, and then like, you know, they end up with this massive showdown. Then you get all the guild masters, every single. Oh, I just went too low. I didn't even realize I was talking. Oh God, I went way too low. I need to go back up to 11 right here. Okay. So yeah, he does that, and then everybody, you know, they end up with this massive fight. He escapes, but he escapes to find another dragon lair. This dragon lair belongs to the dragon of the water. This is like it's like an underwater, like he finds an ocean and he finds an underwater cave, and he thinks if I go in there I might be able to save myself. So he goes in there. It's like an air pocket kind of, like the water is like streaming in slowly but not all the way. So yeah, he's in there and he's safe for now, keyword for now. And you know, then the water dragon shows himself. And then he's like, please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to enter your lair. But then he smells the scent of Igneal. And he thinks, oh, a dragon slayer. And then, so he says, it's fine. Because obviously, you know, him and Igneal are on good terms. Because I want them to be, I don't care what anybody says. I want them to be on good terms. So yeah, that happens, and it's a good thing. And also they end up having a conversation about Igneal, and then he says, then he also smells the scent of Cyrus, and then he gets a little worried. He's like, did Cyrus attack you in Igneo? No, Cyrus is another one of the people I learned magic from, Natsu says, and then, you know, we end up with this whole conversation of, so you have 2 magics, and then he says, I have 3, and then he's like, then he just sniff, 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 and then he says the metal dragon's name, and then Natsu's like, yep, he helped me learn metal dragon magic. Then he thinks, are they planning to make him super powerful? I might as well help. Then he says, would you like to learn the water dragon slaying magic? And he says, what could that be useful for? It could be useful for utility. You could easily, you know, carve out caves. You could use pressurized water. You know, you could combine it with that explosion power of yours to sort of dim it down. Or you could fill it up with water instead and sharpen it. Use pressure. All sorts of pressured water techniques. Natsu was told that all sorts of pressure water techniques, and he thinks that's pretty cool. So he decides, yeah, he wants to learn it. So yeah, he ends up learning water dragon slaying as well. But then, you know, they find the cave, and you know, they're like, look, he is a monster. He's learning more magic. And then they kill the water dragon. But before that happens, he launches Natsu into the sky. And then his I gotta come up with a name for the water dragon. How about Silkios dies, and then Laventine, I'm gonna say, is the air dragon. And so it's a she, yes. She once did lightning seriously just strike outside my... You guys heard that, right? You heard that lightning. Stupid lightning, bro. Like, all I wanted... It better not have struck in any of my things. Well, how was lightning striking, bro? Like, I don't understand. Oh, no. Oh, you guys know exactly what I just thought of, right? Oh, no. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, I'm dead. If I'm right, then I'm dead. Please. Oh, those were just random lightning strikes. Oh, thank God. I thought that was like a drowned with an enchanted trident that had channeling on it. And it like a skeleton was like shooting at something. Oh God. I just had a heart attack. I was like, I'm dead once I come up here. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, the water drag. I forgot their names. Okay, Aquation. I'm just gonna call them Aquation and Ariel. So Ariel is because air. It's stupid. Ariel. So Aquation shoots Natsu up into Ariel's mouth, otherwise known as the water dragon, and then you know the whole, and then you know they fly away. You know, Natsu wanting to go back, saying we can still save him. You know, and Ariel says, once I teach you air dragon magic, then yes, we can. As she smells all of the scents, and she's like, what magics do you know? As they're landing, and then he says, poison god magic. And she goes, okay. I'll teach you fire dragon magic. She's like, hold up, these say multiple magics? Iron dragon magic. She's just astonished, and I just learned water dragon magic. And she's just, you know, like have that scene where it's like their eyes start to spin, and it's just like, hold up, what? I'll teach you air dragon magic. That's all I need to know. Okay, and then, you know, he learns air dragon magic in a couple days, and the guilds can't find him because Ariel lives in like a tree that's like her and Aquatus, they lived in like a deserted, like an island that's just with a giant tree in the middle. So there are 3 dragons there. There's the earth dragon, and then and then there's the air dragon who lives in the tree, and then there's the water dragon that lives in the ocean around it. Which, as we just found out, the water dragon is dead, Aquatus. So, actually, no, we're going to say it's the earth god, because he only has 1 god magic. The earth god who built this for the dragon so they could stay, you know, somewhere safe, secluded. So, yeah. This was like a special place that only they knew of. So, yeah. That's essentially what it is. And so she says, me and the earth god will be teaching you new magic. And he says, okay, and he learns earth god, so, and like, this is like over the course of 3 years, by the way. He learns, so he now has a lot of magics. Earth god, poison god, fire dragon, metal dragon, and water dragon, and air dragon. And then while he's traveling back to the island, he meets the space and time gods. Say there are, and then, you know, like, he's like, whoa, those are really powerful magics. So, you know, obviously he learns space and time god slayer magic. So, yeah. That works. That happens. And so now he's essentially, he knows 4 dragon magics and 4 god slayer magics. There we go. He goes back to land as he's ready to fight. He's tired of running. So, he makes an earth barrier and he pushes it towards all the land with him on top of it. And then he thinks, earth dragon. And what he makes earth dragon wings and infuses them with air dragon magic. You know, instead of just using air dragon magic to make himself levitate, you know. And then we're gonna say he's also learned how to go into Dragon Force, but he ends up with this one issue of if he uses it, he starts to feel like his skin's gonna permanently change. So when he first used it, he felt like his skin was gonna permanently change. It hurt a lot, so yeah. And by the way, all he knows is offense magic. Remember this, because this will be useful. This will be very useful later, as you can probably guess how. He ends up with the problem of there are too many of them and they just use too many different types of magic to where they overwhelm Natsu. With too many different angles, too many different sides to block from. And once he gets hurt, there's no instant healing from Dragon Force because he's just scared that he'll get hurt even more. Because remember, he never learned any knowledge. He never did any of that. He was always on the run. So, you know, he didn't know, oh, I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do this. He didn't know any of that. He never had anybody to teach him. He was just alone all the time. So he's thinking, I'm dead, until he sees everyone who has trained him come down, and they end up with they don't all end up dying, but they end up getting very wounded, except for the dragon. But you know, it's less than Natsu because, you know, obviously they have less people targeting them because they're like masters to some of the slayers there, so they refuse. But then, you know, the dragons get the gods get hurt the most because there aren't that many god slayers, you know. So yeah, so you end up with that problem, and then he sees all the gods that he's trained under die, and Natsu is so mad by this, he doesn't feel anymore. He literally loses himself to his subconscious, and he just goes hang. he activates Dragon Force and then also activates God Power. I'm gonna say God Power is a thing because I want to. I don't know if that actually is a thing, but I'm just gonna say God Power is like this big aura, and like Dragon Force, everybody knows what Dragon Force is. If you know it, if you don't know what it is, it's like where you start to turn into like a half dragon. But Natsu feels like yes, like he's gonna turn into a full dragon, and they see Natsu start to bulk up, and he just starts to get these scales in his tail and his wings as he enters Dragon Force. Then they see this ginormous aura around him as God Force activates. And he just starts destroying. Like he's Earth, like the entire Earth is capturing people. Fire is absolutely torturing people, burning them to death. Then he also has time and space where as soon as everyone dies, he just turns back time to hear their screams again. Then he uses space magic to bring more people from other universes there. More people to suffer. People from way back when. People from those times. And, you know, then he uses his toxin and he just encases everything in a metal, in dirt, in earth, and then he encases it in metal, and then he encases that with portals, which are from his space god powers. So anything that escapes will immediately be teleported back into another universe where he's also conducting this. So they'll just have to go through it again and again forever, never breaking free, truly. And he's just annihilating, and you know, and then after all of them are down, all he can see is, and then he calms down after everyone's been tortured for a couple years for them, but he just keeps resetting time for himself, so he hasn't grown a millisecond. Well, they haven't grown at all, but you know, they've just been going through this for decades. And their pain, it just keeps stacking and stacking until eventually they don't feel it anymore, and they just go through it. Once they reach this point of no pain, Natsu lets them go, and you know, then they go, but he's crying as, you know, he sees all the gods who trained him, and most of the dragons who trained him he sees the dragons gone, but he sees the gods' dead bodies, and he's just like, you killed them all. Then he explains what happened, and everybody feels terrible. They all feel like they did something wrong. But then, you know, they step up, and then they're like, but you did this and this. He explained, I was terrified. That I was in the middle of nowhere by myself. And then, you know, like, everybody turns and they're like, and then they look at the old man and they're like, how come you didn't tell us this? And then, like, he says, but he did it on purpose. He did it on purpose. And then, like, everybody's like, how did you know that? And then he's like, because he attacked me. He attacked you. But was he crying on the floor? And then he was like, then everybody yells at him, answer the question. And then he goes, yes. He is quickly, and I mean it, quickly rushed at. I mean, he is like, you see 2 seconds, then you see nothing in the area, and then you look over to him and you see him getting absolutely murked. Because people had spent they have spent like half their lives, you know, thinking he was evil or something. You know, years just chasing after a child, you know, who just lost everything like before, and then it's just like, wow, I can't believe that you did that. I just did that. I wasted a couple years of my life chasing after someone who needed help and making them even more scared. Now I just killed everyone they cared about. You know how bad that makes them feel? Okay, so yeah, they hate themselves now, so Yeah. And then you end up with that, that scene where everybody's just destroying him for what he's done. And nobody will forgive him but Natsu. The one guy who had he had years of his life taken away by this one man, and he still helps him. Everybody sees the sympathy, including the old man, and he says, and he gets on his knees and he apologizes more than probably you could apologize in your life. He just apologizes so much, and then everybody wants to go back to pounding his head, but they just can't, because they see Natsu saying it's fine, and they're about to ball up their fist. They're about to smack, like absolutely just a smack. But then we have with that wholesome scene of hugs, and then the hugs. And the hugs go on for about an hour. And then, you end up with the part where he wants to join a guild now because, he has no money, he has no food. Usually he would just hunt, but now he's in a city and he doesn't know what to do. Yeah, because everybody, they wanted him to come back to the city, live an actual life. So, yeah, he goes back. He's in a town now and he doesn't know what to do. So he joins Fairy Tale. And then everybody, they just welcome him with open arms because that's how Fairy Tale is. They have a new guild master because, they couldn't have him as their guild master after what he did. But he was not punished. He was just taken from his guild master position. He's still as strong. He's still a guild master level. He just no longer has the title of guild master. So yeah, that's what happens. That happens. It's interesting. So, he joined Fairy Tale with, I'm gonna say there's an entrance exam where it's where you have to show them your power, and then, but there's a problem. They need to know what your nature is. And Natsu says, I have a bunch, I will name them all. Time, space, poison, and earth, god slaying, and fire, metal, wind, and water, dragon slaying. And then he says, and then the new guild master says, hello, I asked for your power, not every single power ever. No, those are the powers I have. Then he's then he says, you're accepted. Go take your first mission whenever you want. I recommend you do a hard one. So after that ginormous talk and just praising and then saying, I need you to do this, I need you to do this, Natsu just does a bunch of hard missions. We're gonna say he does but he ends up at a point where he does a recruit mission first. So he recruits Lucy, and then he goes to the island that you guys see at the start of the series. He goes to the island and then he sees people looking for Salamander. And Salamander, we're gonna say, is a different person, someone who has yeah. And then Lucy's looking for Salamander. And then he walks up, and then he's like, And then Lucy recognized him because she was actually part of the platoon who hunted him down, and she's apologizing for what she did. And he says, I know how you can repay me, because she was saying how can I repay you for not getting mad at us or something. And then because obviously she wasn't in the whole burning everybody to a crisp thing, she actually escaped because she was lucky, and he didn't have time to expand the orb and grab her. She was the only person who didn't get captured though, because I wasn't trapped in your ginormous spear. So, oh, you weren't, Maybe that could be what I need. And then she's just terrified. She looks like she's about to run because she heard the screaming and everything. And she doesn't want to go through that, so she looks like she's about to run, dash, skedaddle, never see the light of day again. Never, don't look back type of deal. You know, one of those like one of those runs. But you know, she doesn't do that. She can't move. Time magic has her stuck, and we end up with this scene of Natsu looking like a terrorizer or something. It's a pretty funny scene where you just see Lucy just freaking out 2 seconds, then you see Natsu just, you know, looking as scary as possible. And then you end up with this really wholesome bit where it's like, you know, he just says, I'm kidding. I've accepted I was accepted. You could help me complete this mission. It's just a recruit mission. So if you join Fairy Tail, then boom. That's all I need you to pay me. And she goes, yes, I shall do this. And she joins Fairy Tail. Even though she was technically just like scared out of her mind into doing it, she joins Fairy Tail. So yay, now the story how it usually starts has started. Although we don't end up with the ship scene, so that happens. You know, nobody stops it, so that entire island is just, you know, it's a thing. It's a thing we must sacrifice for a naturally good story. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so next part, they go back to Fairy Tail, and you know, they do the whole entrance thing, and then, you know, Natsu proposes that they on the team, so that way they can, like, you may be like, oh, but you know, Natsu was like a wrong member at the usual. Remember how we do like the no spoilers thing, and we can like do stuff. I know some stuff that I just change. Okay, I make that be his first mission, and then he knows about the team thing, and he says we could do like a partner thing, and then you know and then he doesn't have Happy. You know, since he hasn't been a long-term member, he doesn't have Happy. So Happy's rip Happy. If you know who Happy is, then you know. If you don't, you're the worst. He's the best character in Fairy Tail, in my opinion. So yeah, that happens, and you know, they're just like, yeah, we have 2 new members in like 2 days. So you're probably asking, how does Natsu fly there? Fly to the island, fly back. Remember, he has air magic, and you know, since most of the gods who trained him are dead, he no longer does the whole wing thing. He sometimes, whenever he's in a pickle, activates Dragon Force. Whenever he has to like stretch it out, he sometimes activates Dragon Force. And we're gonna say we have a time skip until the island arc, and where he does a bunch, like this entire thing is just filled with him either he still does his infirmary thing where he's just always sleeping in there so he can save and doesn't have to spend on a place, even though he could literally buy a literal mansion. He still goes to the Fairy Tail infirmary, but they kick him out a lot sooner because they know he does a lot of tasks, because there's only like 6 tasks on the board a day. And then, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing, you know, and then they get the new task every single day. And whenever somebody wakes up and they haven't seen Natsu, they rush to the board because they know he's taking all the good ones. And everything's only like 100 jewels or something every single day. So everybody else is just yelling at him to go buy a house and don't come to here anymore, because you just get up too fast, too early, and you just get all the tasks, all the good ones that pay, and then They're all just yelling at him, and then he's like, okay, okay. He buys the biggest mansion ever. Okay, it's like one of those. No, it's more like one of those small houses that has like, it's like he gets a house custom made. You could say it's like how do I explain this? One of those towers where it's on a crystal. One of those houses where it's like a crystal that flies. But what Natsu does is he uses he that's what he was thinking about buying. He actually legit makes his own house using his earth magic. So in order to have somewhere to live, he has to train his mana. Get it? Because he has to keep his house afloat, otherwise it's just gonna crash. And through all the training he's done with 4 dragons and 4 gods, he has a lot of power. And you know, there are a lot of dragons just sensing this power, and all the dragons rush over there, and they just fly along with Natsu, and so do all the gods as well. And then they hear of the news of why they haven't seen their brethren around. And they're all infuriated, the gods and the dragons. They're all infuriated. This infuriation brings them on to the conclusion that they need to make someone strong, so that way one day when they lose their rage, so one day they can just let it all out, but somebody will stop them. So they think Natsu. He's already been trained, he already has a lot of people. One day they just want to let all their rage out from this very day, because they're just going to hold it in from here on out. And they say they need somebody to be able to stop them the day they can't hold it in anymore. So they decide to train Natsu. They tell him of a crystal called the fusion crystal. This crystal essentially fuses 2 things into one. And they also tell him of an armor called the Berserker armor. If you've watched Berserker, then you know. If you watch Berserk, then you know what that is. If not, then deal with it. It essentially is an armor that brings out your inner beast, or your inner spirit, or something. I don't know. So yeah, it does. That's the thing. And then the whole shebang with it, but you end up with this very weird time where it turns into a robe. It turns into a dragon, it turns into a heavenly robe made out of dragon scales. So it gives him very good mobility along with good protection. And then, so right now with this, he can take all the dragons attacked him at once, and their attacks didn't even burn it, it didn't scrape it, they just bounced right off. And then as soon as they attacked, Natsu started to realize he started getting stronger. He started to feel like his mana was building up, and that's when they realized that it stores up mana inside it. And whenever it builds up with enough mana, it makes a full body suit. So the outside cloak crumps in on his, it grows spikes and sticks around Natsu's legs and arms, and then it sticks around his chest, and it just entirely covers him. You know, instead of being an open robe on the front, you know how it usually is, it grows bone spikes and just makes like a rib cage that just grabs him. And then it grabs his legs, and then it just grabs his arms, and then he has a full body suit with the front being all skeletal, because it's made out of the rib bones, and then it's also dragon bone, so it's still very hard, and it still absorbs mana, but it's just it drains mana as well. It drains mana of itself to keep this form activated. So it stores up enough mana to where it can keep the form open for a little while, but that's because Natsu is just pushing mana. It's not pushing mana into it. If Natsu pushes mana into it, he can control it, and he doesn't find this out until a lot later. So he doesn't know how to do this. So if you see moments where it's like if he were to do this, he would like save himself, which yes. By the way, everybody else massive power boost because they're training with Natsu, and like and plus they get a lot more energy, and then they realize Natsu's really stupid, so they try to increase their charisma. Because obviously, you know, he's stupid, so if you increase your charisma and you're smart, you know, absolute destroying. Because, you know, you would know what to do in tight situations while Natsu wouldn't. So yeah, he would most likely get crushed. If, like, he's going up against somebody who's smart. Because it's Natsu, he's still stupid, he never went to school. You know, if he just trained. That pop pop pop. Yep. Okay, so yeah, he so like one wait. Yep. So yeah, he does his Dragon Slayer thing. He does this Dragon Slayer thing. He just, you know, does like the thing. He masters Dragon Force. So now he can activate Dragon Force, and he also learned how to activate and deactivate like the form, like the cloak. He figured out how to push his mana in so that way he can like, but he doesn't know how to like control it and make it do different things. All he knows is that he can push his mana in to automatically activate his just like his superpower state, or you know, deactivate it depending on if it's already active or not. And most of the time he leaves it not active because it drains a lot of mana really fast. So yeah, he just likes to have it not activated so that way he has a lot of mana he can use on like teleportation, because you know his space-time stuff. Ah, don't go against me. Who do you think he was? Yeah, his space-time stuff, it just like, it really helps in this situation. So yeah, he does the big thing where he does the good thing and then the bad thing and then the Dragon Force thing. Oh yes, God Force, yes, God Force. Probably the thing you guys need to know about. God Force, you know the powers of Dragon Force are like increased defense, increased strength, wings and dragon scales, you know, a tail, you know, just a lot of that good stuff. Dragon stuff, you know, dragon parts, essentially. He becomes like almost a he learns how to turn into a full-fledged dragon. Yeah, so after he learned how to do that, you end up with this really nice scene of like he turns into he blah hello words, hello, can you work with me? It's not easy to think of words when you're, you know, building, you know, because like you're focusing on building, not really talking. Close it up. Boom. So yeah, this is my base frame for now. I think I mean Huh? Yeah. Well, of course I plan to add like an overlay. One more block on? One more block on. I'm gonna go sleep because I hate the rain. Can't. Why does it rain so much? This is like its 5th time raining. So yeah. God Force is essentially like increased speed, because like Dragon Force is like defense, attack, but you end up with lowered mana, we're gonna say. Just not to make Dragon Force too strong, you know? Because if Dragon Force is too strong, I'm not gonna be able to do anything for God Force. You know, because it's going to be like, he already has everything he needs with Dragon Force, so I'm just increasing him even more in those basic categories. So yeah, Dragon Force is increased defense, increased strength, lowered speed, it's like increased physical capabilities is what Dragon Force is. God Force is increased magic capabilities, we're gonna say, because I want to. So yeah, that's what Dragon Force is. Dragon Force, possible together, yes. Easy to do together, no. Good to use together, yes. Should you always have it active? No. Because if you always have it active, you're gonna like, because we're gonna say Dragon Force is more of like how do I explain this? It's more of like Naruto knowledge. It's more of like the 8 gates, you know, where it's like it takes a physical toll, not really a mental one. Where God Force is the opposite, where it takes a mana toll, which I guess you could say makes it slightly better, because, you know, Natsu has a lot of mana, so he can have God Force active for a lot longer. But which one's better, physical strength or mana? Or mana? Let's be honest here, which one does he use most of the time? Physical attacks. Like, if he were to use, like, oh, you know what I just realized? I haven't told you all the combo moves. You guys already know the explosion one, but I haven't told you any others. You can probably think of them. Anyways, that's where I'm going to be leaving this off for now, because I have to do some other things with my life, you know? So, yeah. Enjoy. I hope you guys